What's going on, everyone? My name is Triforce Addiction. Welcome back to another COD Mobile video. So today we're actually going to talk about the RAM 7 stats. So I know a lot of people for months now have been kind of dreading the RAM 7's release because just like in Modern Warfare 2019, a lot of players thought it was just going to come out to be extremely overpowered. And also the fact that they were kind of afraid of another BP50 situation happening in this game. But luckily enough, and I think a lot of you guys are going to be happy with this news, I don't really think the RAM 7, at least based off of the stats, are actually going to be that overpowered. So about 2 hours ago, COD Mobile actually released a video showcasing what the RAM 7 can do. This is something that they normally do every single time they're about to release a new weapon. So the first thing I noticed was when they were shooting at shooting that little robot in the shooting range, I noticed that it was doing like 34 damage to the chest. And immediately I started to panic because I'm just thinking, okay, I think everyone actually might be right about this weapon. But then it turns out from a friend on Twitter named Bebbles, he told me that another friend of his said that basically the Vargo S stats were being used to showcase the weapon in the shooting range. But then again, they also decide to show off the stats themselves. And, looking at the numbers, it really doesn't make any sense how it would actually reach 34 in the chest, even within the first range. But before I asked him about that, I did tell him that maybe there's a potential magazine, like a stopping power reload or some sort of barrel that probably ups the damage a little bit. Because I did notice on the weapon, it did have quite a bit of recoil. So I would have assumed that maybe, that added recoil could have been from, that stopping power magazine or maybe a barrel. But apparently with just within the video itself, it was just using the Vargo stats for whatever reason. And I'm hoping he's really right about this because if he's wrong, then we would potentially have to be dealing with a Type 25 that can now 3-shot to the chest. And I don't really think that's good for the balance of this game. I don't really think he has a reason to lie or anything like that. I'm hoping again that he's right about it, and because looking at the base stats, they kind of look pretty tame. They don't really look that bad. And even then, even if it can 3-shot to the chest with some sort of special attachment, I don't really think it would do much damage, mainly because it would probably only affect the first range, and first range only extends to 7.2 meters. It can go a little higher, but it's not that high. From what it looks like, there's just a lot of damage drop off as you shoot further down range. It'll go from 25, then 23, then 22 within a span of 21.6 meters. And again, hypothetically, if there is a stopping power or any attachment that increases damage, I don't think the 3-shot capabilities are going to extend really that far. If this hypothetical attachment does exist, then we'll probably have to see by how much the multipliers would actually increase. Because if it increases by like 0.1 or 0.2, maybe it won't be a big deal. Maybe it will just only be really good at close range. But if it goes up like 0.5 or something, okay, then maybe we have a problem in our hands. But if it doesn't exist, I mean, the stats look pretty good. The fire rate, it's basically the same as the Type 25, just by, I think, 3 rounds from what Bebel said. And I mean, the ADS speed, the speed overall seems to be okay. The ADS bullet spread is all right as well. And knowing that the Type 25 just got an improvement with the bullet spread as well, I could see these two weapons competing side by side. But of course, one of the biggest drawbacks, at least from what I've seen so far, is just the horizontal recoil. So as the weapon is being fired within this preview video, it looks like there's quite a bit of horizontal recoil. I will say that it doesn't really seem to be a completely stable weapon. It's also due to the fact that this gun's being shown without the ADS FOV option toggled on, so it looks like it has a lot more. It looks like has a lot more recoil than what we're probably going to feel, especially for all those people that use the ADS FOV feature. Of course, having this toggle on doesn't really mean that the recoil is going to be reduced, but it kind of gives us the illusion that it does, and it makes the weapon feel a lot more stable than it actually is on paper. So, at least looking at it right now, the weapon seems to be pretty well balanced. I'm hoping that there's not any patch notes to make this weapon a little bit too strong. The iron sight as well does seem to be looking pretty nice. It looks usable. So, for all the people that may not be able to afford a mythic, I mean, the regular weapon itself, and maybe even the tier 50 blueprint is going to be more than enough. Of course, there's going to be a lot of people that argue that this is simply just going to be a weapon that's, well, basically the type 25 with bullet speed, but I would disagree because obviously there are going to be marksman barrels or some sort of attachment to increase bullet speed anyways. Most weapons with that type of feature have something to increase it, at least most of them. But yeah, of course, when the actual update comes out, we're gonna have to see whether or not it stays that way. And again, I hope it does stay that way because this would actually be the first mythic in a while that doesn't really, that doesn't really get to be overpowered. It just gets to be just a normal balanced weapon. And based on what we've had for a while, I think it's time that we at least get a little bit of a break. We don't need another meta weapon out there. But there you have it, guys. Let me know what you think down below in the comment section. I'll see you guys next time.